let's discuss adding fractions. So adding fractions is pretty simple when you already have like denominators, like 1/2 and 1/2. The denominators are 2. When you have like denominators, all you have to do is add the numerators together. So 1 plus 1 is 2. And then you keep the denominators the same. So 1/2 of something, like a pizza, and then another half of a pizza, together will give me 2 halves, and when put together, will give you 1 whole. Alright, so let's say I want to add 1/2 and 3/4. We can see that these are broken into different sized pieces, so it's really hard to add them together because they're different sizes. So our goal then is to break them into same sized pieces, or what we're essentially meaning is that we are looking for our denominators to be the same. So we're wanting a common denominator. To find the common denominator, you can list out the multiples of each number until you find the least common multiple. Looking at 2 and 4, I would stop at 4. 4 is the least common multiple between 2 and 4. 2 can go into 4, and then I don't have to do anything with this fraction. I can leave that one 3/4. So I want to turn 1/2 into a fraction with 4 as the denominator. In order to do that, I know I need to multiply 2 by a factor of 2 to get 4. The rule is that whatever you do to the bottom, you also do to the top. So 1 times 2 gives me 2. So 1/2 is the same thing as 2/4. So when we multiply 1/2 by 2 over 2, we're essentially multiplying 1/2 by 1. So 2 halves is the same thing as 1 whole, correct? And anything times 1 is itself. So the fraction that we get as a result is an equivalent fraction. So 1 times 2 is 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. So we get the answer of 2/4. And again, 2/4 then is an equivalent fraction to 1/2. They are equal to each other. Now I can add 2/4 and 3/4 together. I'm also going to show you that 1/2 is the same as 2/4 drawn there. So now I can add it together, and I know I have 2/4 and I'm adding that to 3/4, so I have a total of 5/4. This is an improper fraction. To make it to a mixed number, we just ask how many times will 4 go into 5? It will go in 1 time. And there's going to be how many left. So if I take 4 away from this, I'm left with 1/4. Let's look at the picture using these two. So if I combined these fourths together, I can see that I can move one of these fourths over here, which would make 1 whole, and then 1/4 remaining. So 5/4 is 1 and 1/4, and there's the visual to see that. So I'm adding these two together. They have different denominators, so I need to find a common denominator. And remember that method of listing out multiples. So I could list out multiples of 4 and multiples of 6 until I find the least common multiple. So 4, 8, 12, and I'm going to stop there because I know my facts and I know that 6 goes into 12, and this would be my least common multiple. I'm taking 4 times 3, so I'm going to multiply this fraction by 3 over 3. And I would need to take 6 times 2, so I'm going to multiply this fraction by 2 over 2. And then I get 9/12 plus 8/12 and I can add that together. Now I know I'm going to get 17/12, and that's improper, so if I want to change that to a mixed number, I ask myself, well, 12 will go into 17 one time, and I'm going to have 5 of those 12ths remaining. So 5/12 is my answer. Alright, so same step. I want to make my denominators the same by glancing at them. I know that 5 can go into 10, so I can just change this fraction into a fraction with 10 as the denominator. To do that, I would multiply the bottom and the top both by 2. So that will become a fraction of 6/10. And I can now add my fractions together first. So 6/10 and 8/10 gives me 14/10. And I'm not going to add 6 and 1 together just yet, because what I have here is an improper fraction, and I want to turn that into a mixed number first. So 10 can go into 14 once, and I'll have 4/10 left over. I also know that 4/10 is the same thing as 2/5. Okay, so when I added my fractions together, I got 1 and 2/5. So that's not my answer, that's just adding the fractions. Now I need to add my integers, 6 and 1. So 6 plus 1 is 7, plus this one is 8. So I get a total of 8 and 2/5. Subtracting fractions is very similar to adding fractions. If you have the same denominator, you just have to subtract across. So if I had 3/4 of something, but I'm taking away one of those fourths, I'm then left with 2 of those fourths. So 3 minus 1 is 2, keep the denominator the same. I also know that 2/4 is 1/2. Just divide by 2 and you'd get 1/2. If the denominators are not the same, so I'm like 6/8 minus 1/2, how much does that equal? I first need to find a common denominator. Just like when I was adding fractions, I need a common denominator first. So I'm looking at these, and I don't need to list out multiples because I know 2 is going to go into 8. So I'm just going to turn this fraction into one that has 8 as the denominator. So 1/2 times 4/4 gives me 4/8. So 6/8 minus 4/8, and I'll get 2/8 or 1/4. Subtracting mixed numbers, just like we've done with adding and even subtracting of fractions, we need a common denominator first. And looking at these two, I know that I can make 1/2 4/8. So really I'm taking 3 and 4/8, and I'm subtracting 1 and 3/8 from that. I always want to subtract my fractions first. So I'm going to take 4/8 and subtract away 3/8. So 4 minus 3, and I'm going to be left with 1/8. And then I'm going to take my integers and subtract those. So 3 minus 1 is 2, and I get an answer of 2 and 1/8. Let's try another one. So I want a common denominator. In this case, I can see that I can multiply this fraction by 3/3 to get a fraction with the denominator 6. 2 times 3 is 6, 1 times 3 is 3, so 1/2 is the same thing as 3/6. And now I'm going to subtract. Remember, I want to subtract my fractions first. So looking at this, I have 3/6, and I'm taking away 5/6. Well, how can I do that? Well, I need to borrow from this integer. I'm going to take 1 whole away from that 4 to make that become a 3. I'm going to take 1 whole away. Now, what is 1 whole in this situation? Well, 1 whole would be if I had 6 out of 6 pieces. 6 out of 6 pieces of anything makes 1 whole. So when I take 1 whole away from here and add it here, I'm actually adding 6 sixths and 3 sixths together. So 6 plus 3. Okay, so 6 plus 3 to get 9 sixths. So now I have 3 and 9 sixths minus 1 and 5 sixths. And again, I'm going to subtract my fractions first. So now I can take 9 minus 5 to get 4 sixths. And I can take 3 minus 1 to get 2. And of course, I know I can divide my fraction down to get 2/3. So my official answer is 2 and 2/3. Hopefully what you took away from this lesson was that when you're adding or subtracting fractions or mixed numbers, that you will first need to find a common denominator. Hopefully you found the video helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Watch it again as many times as you need as you work through your math problems. Good luck!